Hello, welcome to this your channel the Eurofan. That's me. Australia keeps as one of the regular participants at the contest despite being an associate member, so it is presumed that it will still present in the competition unless the EBU says the opposite sometime or the country decides to withdraw, which does not seem to happen in a short term. For last year's contest, they bet for the guys of Electric Fields as their representatives, but however, they were left close to qualify to the grand final after placing 11th in their semi-final. Now we will see who will be the next artist that will have the occasion of waving the Australian colours on the main stage of Basel. Let's go! For today's episode, I'm going to review the Australian entry for Eurovision 2025, which will be represented by singer Gojo with the song Milkshake Man. If you have prepared a coffee in a previous episode, now it is time to prepare a milkshake, maybe with a sweet or savory snack, to get into the musical universe of this emerging artist. Having said that, let's move on with the review. First of all, we are going to take a look at his biography and career before representing the Oceanic country in Switzerland. Marty Sammoto, mostly well known as Gojo, is an Australian singer, songwriter and producer of French father and Australian mother, coming from the town of Manjimup, located in southwestern Australia and currently living in Sydney. Surely you must be wondering about where does his stage name come from. He has commented himself that the name comes from his time being a sportsman during his teenage years, when his mother attended running races in which he was participating and usually yelling Gojo in reference to his middle name, which is Joe. He shows a wide interest for music since very early age thanks to his parents. His father is a big fan of drums, and his mother used to be the frontwoman on a local rock band. He receives his very first electric guitar at the age of 14 by his mother, then getting introduced into music doing covers on many punk and heavy metal bands. During those teenage years, living in the city of Berg by then, he was playing football in a semi-professional level on a local team, but everything would change for him when he began to write his own songs and got introduced in the musical production at the age of 19, initially doing it for other artists until he decides to abandon football to move to Sydney and start to be a full-time musician. He begins his musical career in 2016, releasing his first singles in collaboration with other artists of the Australian musical scene, with influences of pop, R&B and hip-hop, getting consolidated little by little as an emerging artist, although he will start to get more recognition not with a song of his, but with a cover of the song Irish from the American rock band Goo Goo Dolls. Thereafter in 2023, he will start to get much more notice, especially thanks to social media, after a video recording of him performing his song Mrs. Hollywood in a mall got viral, which would allow him to reach to an international audience, and all this without having his first studio album yet. You must wonder in this case, how is that talent almost unknown abroad ends up becoming the Australian representative for the contest? Let's find it out with more detail. After confirming that Australia was once again in the list of the participating countries for this year's edition, implying in this case it would have been invited again by the EBU to take part in the competition, there were not much more details about the selection of their next representative from the Australian public broadcaster, keeping the process totally in secret. Until later on late last February, the broadcaster will announce the selection of Gojo as their representative, releasing at the same time both the song and its accompanying official music video. A song that talks about milkshakes, but not the ones you think. Here I go with a further analysis of this proposal, which he will attend the contest very soon. The melody in this case is a synth-pop track following the trend on the revival of the musical genre for many big artists in the musical scene during the present century. It is to stand out as well that during the song's intro you can listen a sample of the song Green Sleeves, which is a chime commonly used in ice cream banks in many countries. About Gojo's voice, I feel it right and adapted to the genre, being especially low-pitched in so some parts of the verses and during the bridge, while increasing the pitch progressively just before the chorus. The lyrics have been written in English with a phrase in French by himself together with a group of Australian songwriters, which particularly are or were members of the Australian indie pop band Shepherd, being the case of George and Amy Shepherd, two of the brothers that are still in the band, while Jason Bobino left the band a couple of years ago, being known as well for being one of the contestants of the very first edition of the then Australian national final Eurovision Australia Decides in 2019. Talking about the contest behind the lyrics, it intends to be a motivational push, encouraging to discover the most colorful version of ourselves and feel confident, although playing with several double entendres at the same time behind that playful and light-hearted facade, with a suggestion of very daring and provocative phrases throughout it. Stands out the bridge of the song in this case, which intends to appeal to a dynamic with the audience ahead of the live performances. This can be evidenced by reading the lyrics in more detail, as you read each one of the different phrases in which he calls himself the Milkshake Man. It does not lead too much to the imagination, and if at the top of that you are with your hormones out of control and you have a serious need, you know which one I'm talking about, maybe you even end up looking to satisfy it one way or another, in addition that he could perfectly represent the fantasy man of almost any person. We have to admit how he is hot as hell. Among the message, I can get that he intends to reinforce that acceptance of our own identity with virtues and imperfections, but I think that he is looking to reinforce other things, talking about milk and bananas and some other more carnal things. Taking into account the extensively provocative contest transmitted with the song, it was able to see additionally how he was presenting it in the official music video as well. The plot is developed mostly in an ice cream van, seeing Gojo initially driving that van while the song's intro is heard. With the first verse, the shot gets closer to Gojo, which is still driving, alternating with shots of himself in the background of the van with two women that are helping him preparing milkshakes, keeping a festive dynamic with a lot of strobe lights, as well as close-ups of Gojo doing very sexy and suggestive movements, which are also kept during the first chorus. The friendly dynamic stays pretty similar during the second verse and the second chorus, seeing also additional shots with a lot of hands by the window of the band desperately for milkshakes, which the women try to distribute, although with some difficulties. For the bridge of the song, Gojo is seen fainting in the back room of the band after drinking one of the milkshakes, while one of the women reaches to him to ask him in French if he had milk for her. Those who understood. Until there is another shot with all of them out of the band, with Gojo looking as an ice cream man, all of them with makeup of mime artists. And with the climax of the performance, there are camera twists inside the band, giving a sort of psychedelic touch in line with the extensive use of the synths in this part of the track. With the final chorus, it goes back to the frantic dynamic previously seen, which is kept until the end of the performance. With all this seen so far, I can say that the Australian entry for this year is not just suggestive, it's really suggestive. It is the most daring and provocative proposal presented by the country since its participation in the contest, without any doubt, joining the lineup of sexually connoted songs for the edition without being too explicit after the one presented by Finland. Beyond the suggestive theme of the track, it is a very fun and cheerful song conceived for having fun ourselves in any party while we show our most carefree side. It is not a song that I will play on loop, but I can listen to it without any problem. For the staging ambassador, the expectations are pretty high, as we do not know how he intends to present it on the stage so far, and especially being in charge of opening the second semi-final, which will be closed in Finland by the way. So it is quite probably that among these two, libido is going to soar higher and many people will get horny after the show. In the other hand, he also had the chance together with his fellow contestants to present his proposal live in technically all the Eurovision parties of the season, probably leaving the audience wanting for more. In the meanwhile, it will be a matter of days until we can find finally seeing him stepping on the stage and serving milkshakes to the audience. This has been the Australian proposal this year for the contest. What do you think about this one? Does this proposal get you motivated and excited, or it does not even make you sigh instead? In any case, let me know in the comments down below thus we can follow the discussion. And this is it for today's episode. Before I finish, I remind you to like this video if it was of your taste, so you can help me and support me by making this reach to much more people. Subscribe to my channel if you have not done it yet, enable notifications by hitting the bell, and follow me through my social media. Take care and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.